Welcome to Dad Mode, God, Grit, and Goals. I am your host, Mike Tobias, and today I am super excited to have a special guest on, someone that I have met actually, I think originally on LinkedIn, I think is how we ended up connecting, Zach Garza. And Zach has a special heart for mentoring young men, and he's got his own story of transformation. I'm really calling this episode Fatherless to Fathering because Zach is now the father of many for the work that he's done, and he's dedicated his life to this. And so I thought it would be great for you to get a chance to know him. So I want to actually just start with a quick prayer. So Lord, we know that you are our greatest Father. And that some of us were raised with great fathers, and some of us were raised without a father, and some of us were raised with terrible fathers. So, Lord, we just want this message to reach those who are hurting, but we also want it to reach those who have been blessed because we need them to step up, and that's part of our message today. And so, Lord, I would ask your Holy Spirit would indwell our conversations and that would reach those who it's intended to reach. So welcome to the podcast, Zach.
Thanks so much for having me, Mike. Man, I just love that description going from fatherless to fathering. I got to steal that, put it on my website or something.
Absolutely. Well, Zach, for listeners who may not be familiar with your story, can you share a little bit about that and what it was like growing up without a father?
Sure thing, Mike. Yeah. So thanks again for having me on the podcast. Super excited to talk about the things that I'm the most passionate about. So my story starts out, I was born in 1982 down there in the great city of good old Dallas, Texas.
All right.
And man, so my mom and my dad, right? They came from kind of opposite kinds of backgrounds, right? So my dad was born and raised in inner city Chicago. He just had a tough time as a kiddo, and so he was the oldest of five. And his dad, right? Obviously did the best job that he could, but he had issues, with alcoholism and physical, kind of abuse and things like that. My mom, on the other hand, she was raised Church of Christ, and just lots and lots of rules. And so they kind of got married and came together. It was my dad's second marriage. And it was my mom's second as well. And so they came together and they had me, and I have five half siblings, ranging from, I'm 42 years old. I've got one who's about 60, and I think the one who is the youngest is early 20s. So just a large range of age there.
Yeah.
But yeah, so everything was kind of going fine until the age of 13. And that's whenever my dad decided to take off, and he found someone else and came into my room one day and just said, "Hey, Zach, found someone else and I'm going to leave." And I can remember Mike,
wow,
as I kind of watched him talk to me. I can remember as a kid just thinking to myself, everything's going to be different from this point out. And sure enough, it was.
Wow.
So so
can't imagine that
my
at
dad,
13.
yeah, that's a tough time, right?
Yeah.
And so, but my dad, I say my dad left kind of physically, but my mom, she was so overwhelmed with being a single mom and having her husband leave that she wasn't really necessarily capable of giving me all the things that I needed. So I say that my mom wasn't able to be there for me emotionally, and my dad wasn't able to be there for me kind of physically. And so that was a tough time. I say that the only thing in life that I wanted was love, was to be affirmed, was to have someone give me attention, have someone give me um, acceptance. And I definitely didn't find that at home. So I did everything I could in my life to try to find that, whether it's through sports or through,
Yeah.
getting the attention of girls or, I mean, man, I just wanted people to love me.
Yeah.
That's all I wanted. So.
Yeah, that is tough, and it's hard anytime, but you're definitely at that age where that's like such a vital part, and we all need that. We need that today. We need that
Yeah.
throughout our lives. So who?
Yeah, but
go ahead.
No. Go ahead.
I was going to ask
some question for me.
Like, who were some of the mentors that God brought into your life, and how did that kind of change your trajectory?
Yeah, so I would just say, like, in God's kindness, he kind of always had people who kept me in the lanes of kind of okayness, right?
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, I had a youth pastor whenever my parents kind of split up, who, I mean, he took an interest in me, had a couple of different kinds of coaches, right? Just had one of my best friend's dads. Just I had different men who stepped up, and I wouldn't necessarily say that they mentored me. I wouldn't necessarily say that they discipled me, but they definitely kept me from going too far outside of the lanes. But it wasn't until college that I kind of got my first mentor, and I don't think it's fair to say that those men didn't like have a heart to try to mentor me, or didn't have a heart to try. I mean, I honestly think, Mike, that I was just a mess. I mean, I didn't want to be mentored. I didn't know how to speak to men. I was hurt. I was angry. Had a hard time putting any kind of my faith in people. I was so terrified of someone coming into my life and then doing what my dad did, which is, just either disappointing me or having to leave me. And so, I mean, my walls were sky high. But it wasn't until college that I met this professor, this guy named Bob. And I had an opportunity to work for Bob. So I worked for him. I had him as a professor. And I just spent just like a ton of time with this guy. And the thing that I love most about Bob is Bob didn't try to fix me. He didn't try to talk to me about Jesus. He was just there for me. And what I found out was, like, the more that I got to speak to Bob, the more that I started to kind of trust Bob. And the more that I started to put all of my trust in him, the more I started to open up to him. And this took a long time, Mike. It wasn't until my senior year that Bob finally asked me to go to a men's kind of Bible study, right? And I was like, Bob, I don't want to go to a men's Bible study. That's not for me. I'm a cool guy. I party. Everyone who goes to men's things, they're weird and kind of churchy, and it's just not my vibe.
The nerds. I don't want to be at the nerds. Yeah.
The nerds. I don't want to be with the nerds, Mike. I mean, I'm cool. They're not.
Yeah.
But, and I couldn't say it at the time, Mike. I couldn't put this into words. But if Bob asked me to do something, I'd do it, because I respected him so much, because I yearned for his acceptance, because I yearned for his attention, for him just to say, Zach, you're doing a good job. And so he asked me to go. I said no. He said, come on, man. I said, okay, fine. So I went to this men's group, right, Mike? And I walk in, and sure enough, there's all these nerds. And I'm a big guy, Mike. I'm 6'8". At the time I was like 275. I know, I'm a monster.
Wow.
But I'm nice. I'm a nice guy. And I had my head shaved. I worked out all of the time, and I did not look like a very nice guy. But I go to this men's Bible study and Bob's teaching, and he says, all right, guys, today we're going to talk about the Father heart of God. And I'm just like, what the, Father heart of God. Like anytime someone would talk about fathers, Mike, I would get so angry.
Yeah.
And I could feel my fist starting to like, right? Like I was just like, I was like, what is this? Like, Bob, Bob, not you, man, not you. But he starts talking about the Father heart of God. He says, hey, God put fathers here on earth to be an example of me or of him. For some people, that's great news. God is kind. Your father is kind. God shows up just like your dad. But what if you grew up in a home where you didn't have a dad who looks like God at all?
Yeah.
And as you said this, Mike, I did something that I hadn't done since my dad left. At the time I was, I was probably, it's my senior year. So early 20s. And I hadn't cried since I was 13. Mm. And when Bob starts talking about this, something starts happening inside my chest. And I feel, right? I start feeling these emotions, and the anger turns to just this outpouring of emotion. And I start weeping. And I'm not talking like one tear running down my chest, Mike. Like I'm talking about like boo-hooing.
Wow.
So Bob's teaching, I'm sitting there and I'm just weeping. And all these guys are like, okay, that's Zach Garza. Like he's crying. What's going on? And I'm embarrassed and I'm ashamed. So I do the only thing that I know how to do.
With these guys.
Oh yeah. And so I do the only thing that I know how to do, and I leave.
Wow.
So Bob sees me leave and he hands the mic over to one of his buddies, and he comes, says after me. And he finds me, I'm 6'8", Bob's 5'10". And he finds me and he grabs me by the back of the neck and he pulls me in for a hug. And it's the first time that, I can remember a man hugging me. And he said, Zach, you have to deal with this father stuff, man, because it's killing you on the inside. And I just remember just losing it. And I was like, okay, Bob, okay, fine, and I wish I could say that my life radically transformed that day. But what I do believe happened is I was going down a path of darkness. I have an older brother who's incarcerated. I have an older brother who's homosexual, right? Like I was on my way to becoming just like every other man in my family, angry, takes off on their family, addiction, just all of this stuff. But the Lord used Bob's relationship with me, not his advice, not his Bible study, his relationship to take me off a path of darkness and to put me on a path of life. And for the next 7 years, God in his kindness put other men in my life to teach me how to be a man, teach me how to shake a hand, teach me how to make eye contact, teach me how to work hard, teach me how to deal with my pride, teach me how to deal with my anger, teach me how to forgive my dad, teach me how to pursue my wife, right? Like I didn't have an awesome dad growing up, right?
Right.
Now, I'll also say this. My dad just did what he knew, right?
Yep.
So you can't be what you can't see. And he didn't ever see someone being a good dad. So he was doing the best he could with the things that he got. But what I will say is this, is that the Lord put 15 men in my life to father me.
Wow. And
I am here today because of those men. And I have a couple guys, but one guy, this guy named Steve Allen, right? I was 27 years old, 28, Mike, and I was a teacher and a coach at a low-income school up in Dallas. And I get serious about my faith, right? So like I get introduced to, the faith by Bob and, going to church as a kid. But I just kind of went to church just because it was the cool, kind of thing to do up in Texas. I went to church because that's where all of the girls are. But I got serious about my faith whenever I was 28. And when that happened, God invited me to go to this this discipleship training school in Nashville, Tennessee for a summer. So I didn't have anything going on during the summertime because I was a teacher and a coach. And the Lord said, hey, some of my friends are going to this discipleship school. You should go. And that's where I met Steve Allen. And Steve Allen taught me how to forgive my dad. But he also taught me, hey, Zach, your pain can become your passion. What the Lord allowed to happen to you, he can use it to impact kids who are just like you.
Mm.
And that's when I felt like I got this call to become what I did never have as a father, even though I wasn't married, even though I was single,
Yep.
right?
Yep.
But it's all because of Steve's mentorship, his investment into my life. I mean, he has taught me more than any person here on earth.
Wow.
And he taught me how to have purpose. He taught me how to pursue forgiving my dad and chasing the Lord with all my heart. So
Wow.
that's why I'm here today, Mike.
Yeah. So I want to ask you, I want to dig into that a little bit, if you don't mind.
Sure.
What did Steve do, or what was the process of being able to forgive your father? Like, what were some of the things that you remember? Because there's got to be a
Mike, dude, it's
perspective
terrible.
shift. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, it was terrible. I mean, you want me to go face this guy who hurt my family, who hurt me, and I'm supposed to forgive him.
Mm.
And but man, I was at the end of my rope. I needed Jesus. I had tried everything, and Steve came along at the perfect time, and I basically said, Steve, I'll do whatever you ask me to do.
Mm.
I just want satisfaction. I just want life. I just want joy. I just want peace. And he said, Zach, this is the first step. And so I called up my dad. I hadn't talked to him in a long, long time. And I said, hey, I will be in San Antonio for work. Would you like to meet for lunch? And he said, yeah. So I was up in Dallas, drove down to San Antonio. It's about 5 hours. And the whole time, like, I'm just freaking out. I'm just like, what am I doing?
Why am I
Like,
doing this? Yeah.
yeah. And I would just call Steve, and Steve would just pray. He would just pray. He would just pray. I mean, I called Steve 7 times
Mm.
during the car ride. And I went and I met up with him, and we met up, had lunch. And I saw him and I said, hey, I want to know everything.
Mm.
And my dad's a tough man. He's a firefighter. Grew up inner city Chicago, and I've never seen him be soft. But the Lord allowed for that moment. He opened up and he told me everything. He told me about how his dad was towards him. He told me about his childhood. He told me about his past, about why he left, and it was almost like I went from seeing him as this jerk who left my family, who caused so much pain, to seeing him as a boy who no one ever taught to become a man.
Mm.
And the Lord instantly exchanged my anger for compassion. And I mean, Mike, it's a miracle.
Wow. That is a miracle.
It's a miracle. And
That's amazing.
yeah. And
It
so,
was through questioning. Like, that's really interesting. So you had to have the courage to go see him. That's a really hard thing to do, right? Because it'd be so easy to want revenge, right? The opposite of forgiveness is revenge. Yeah. And, yeah, so I can imagine that trip was a tough trip. And then leading with questions and then having him open up, because he could have not done that. He could have not met with you. Had you had a conversations with him before then, or what?
I mean, no, I hated him.
Yeah.
I mean, I
So why bother calling him?
Yeah. But I could tangibly feel chains being torn off my chest.
Yep.
as I left.
That's the power of forgiveness. Forgiveness is for you, right? Not for him. And I think probably something happened inside him as well, but certainly it happened for you.
Yeah.
And you were released from your own prison of that thought. Like, that's amazing.
Yeah. Well, honor your mother and father so that it will go well for you in the land.
Mm. Yeah.
It doesn't say honor your. I mean, I want to be honest with you, Mike. Part of it was selfish.
Yeah.
Man, okay, well, if it says that it'll go well for me in the land, and I'm going to do this.
Yeah.
But it doesn't say honor if. It says honor.
Honor.
And so, in all of that, Steve, all of that is Steve. And so, so I came back to Dallas after that. I went through the discipleship school. I forgave my dad. Then I started coaching my team as a teacher and a coach up in Dallas. And I asked my team, I said, hey guys, there's about 60 kids on my football team. And I said, who in here comes from a home where they don't have a dad around? And about 45 of their hands popped up.
Wow.
And it was at that moment that I just felt this, okay, there's 45 kids who are just like me. There's 45 kids who need someone like Steve.
Oof.
If the Lord can transform my life, then he can transform these kids' lives. And I was single. I didn't have anything else to do. So I just started to spend time with these kiddos. And we started to mentor one kid, mentor two kids, mentor four kids, mentor eight kids. Some men from the Lake Highlands area saw what we were doing and said, how can we help? I said, I have no idea. And they said, well, why don't we start mentoring? Why don't we form a board? Why don't we start really trying to invest into these kiddos? And the next thing you know, we started a not-for-profit and started out serving just a couple kids. And by the time that I left the org in 2021, we were serving hundreds of families, baptized over 200 kids, did one-on-one mentoring, after-school programming, serving the single mom. And it is, our budget was 1.2, I mean, it was cool. And I'll say this, a father to the fatherless, a defender of the widow is God in his holy habitation. He sets the lonely in families, right? That song is true. And I believe that God was looking for someone to invest into those that he loves the most. And I just, by accident, by Steve, by my own story, I just put my hand up and said, Lord, here I am. And he just poured gasoline on it. And it is happening. And so that's amazing.
That's totally amazing. Yeah. It's an odd thing that our greatest opportunities come through our greatest pain.
Yep.
And what a powerful testimony. So then at that point, is that kind of how the idea for You Can Mentor first started to take shape? Is that?
Yes. So the not-for-profit up in Dallas, it's called a Forerunner Mentoring Program. And, I got the idea from Steve in 2009. We became a 501c3 in 2011. And around 2018, Mike, I mean, I am more of the visionary than the operations guy.
Yeah.
And I just had this amazing board. I had amazing staff. We had amazing support. And I kind of looked around and I didn't have much to do, right? And so I started just to kind of dream. And I felt like I had this question I couldn't get rid of. And it was this: what the Lord's doing in this little community up in Dallas is amazing. But what about every other community out there? Every community needs a after-school program, mentoring program, serving the single mom, someone investing into the fatherless. How can we help people start these kinds of nonprofits or churches? How can we help people mentor in their own area, in their own community? And I couldn't find anything. I couldn't find books. I couldn't find podcasts. I'm telling this one day to my staff, and one of my staff members goes, you should start a podcast. And I said, what's that? And he told me. And I said, okay, great. So we started the You Can Mentor podcast. And it was really just like, hey, I had to learn how to build a mentoring not-for-profit from scratch. And I failed a lot. How can I take what I've learned and help people do it in their own cities? And so it was a very simple kind of format. There's two things that we do. One, we would interview CEOs, executives, anyone who's mentoring in their own community and find out how they're doing it. And then the second thing is we would share what we're doing. We would share what we have learned. And we started that, and the staff kind of took care of my not-for-profit. I would fundraise and lead different kinds of meetings and things like that. But I spent a lot of my time just finding people who are mentoring and inviting them on to our podcast. And this one group out of East Texas, it's called the Mentoring Alliance. I talked to their CEO, and we just kind of hit it off, right? And he said, hey, Zach, we want to start mentoring organizations all throughout Texas. Would you be interested in that? And I said, no, man, I've got this thing up in Dallas. Like, no. And that happened, 2019. And he said, okay, but if it ever happens, I'm going to call you. So I'm like, okay, fine. And I didn't think twice about it, Mike. Well, 2021 comes and I just feel like I've taken the not for profit as far as I can go. And I was having conversations with my board. I was like, guys, we need more of an ops guy in here. I have too much kind of vision. We need someone in here who's going to take what I've created and just really try to make it better. I am not that person. And they're like, well, yeah, but you're the founder. And I'm like, yeah, but I think that you guys need to kind of fire me. And they're like, no way. So they're okay. So I had that conversation on a Tuesday morning, like we had our board meetings from 6 to 8 a.m. We get done with the board meeting at 8:05. I get a phone call from a cell phone in East Texas. And it's the CEO of the Mentoring Alliance. And he says, we had a board meeting last night. We got approved to come to Waco, Texas. Are you interested? And I'm just like, okay, Lord. And so I said, well, I'm down to have a conversation. So I made this list on piece of paper. Here are the 14 things that have to happen for me to give away my not-for-profit and move my family to Waco, Texas. And one by one, Mike, it just started happening. So
amazing.
I moved to Waco, started the Waco expansion for the Mentoring Alliance, all with the hopes of you can mentor, all with the hopes of, okay, I started a community mentoring organization. Now I'm going to start a citywide. And when I'm 55 years old, I'm going to have all the experience and I'm going to start this You Can Mentor and we're going to help people. And over the next couple of years, we did Waco. We got that up and going. And I had a donor approach me and he said, Zach, tell me your dream. So I told him the same thing that I just told you. I said, I want to see a mentoring organization in every city in America. And he said, how much do you think that would cost? And I told him, and he opened up his checkbook and gave me a check and said, go do it.
Wow.
Praise the Lord. I mean, it was a big check. And I'm like, oh crap. And I'm like, okay, I thought I was going to do this when I was 55. Well, I'm 39. And Lord, are you sure? And over the last couple of years, Mike, slowly but surely, God has been helping me do a couple things. Equip mentoring leaders with the best kinds of practices to start, scale, and sustain a mentoring org in their own city. It's develop a mentoring network for faith-based mentoring orgs all across America. And then the third thing is develop the next generation of mentoring executives so more kids can get mentored in more cities and this thing outlasts guys like me and you. So
that's just got to be mind-blowing. God's timing is never wrong. And when you are faithful, their doors open, right? And that's such a testimony of that.
Well, I've had to overcome a ton of insecurity.
I'm sure.
Lord, I say it's a national mentoring movement, and I'm like, well, who am I? Like, who am I to do this, Lord?
Well, you're in good. You're in good company. That's what Moses said.
Man, this is what's awesome about Moses. Moses also had a stutter, and so do I. So Moses is my guy. But
there you go.
Yeah, man. So that's mentoring, Mike. If the Lord can do it to me, He can do it to anyone. God loves investing into those who have to overcome obstacles. Those who have experienced injustice, the fatherless, the single mother.
Yeah.
And He loves discipleship, which mentoring in the name of Jesus is discipleship, straight up. There's different terms but at the end of the day, it's people investing into people in the name of Jesus to help them experience the love of Jesus Christ. And if a boy grows up in a home without a father figure present, who's going to teach that boy how to become a man? That's a great question.
Yeah.
If a boy grows up in a home without a dad around, who's going to teach him?
We need that for sure. So I've heard you say, mentorship is for every man, not just the qualified. So what do you mean by that?
Man, God God does not call the qualified. He qualifies the called. And mentoring is not rocket science. That's why it's called You Can Mentor, because you can mentor. You don't have to be superhuman. You just have to do three things. You have to show up on a consistent basis. You have to show up in the good. You have to show up in the bad. You have to show up when the kid's in a great mood. You got to show up when the kid's in a bad mood. And when you show up, you do the second thing, and that's speak truth. That's speak words of encouragement. A kid's got enough you ought to's. A kid's got enough shoulds. A kid's got enough rules in his life. He doesn't need more of that. What he needs is he needs someone to open up his chest and to insert courage. Because to overcome growing up without a dad around, some of these kids face huge obstacles, Mike. They face racism. They face growing up poor. They face going to a tough school. They face, growing up in a single mom home. They need courage. So if a kid's doing 99 things wrong and one thing right, you focus in on that one thing right and you pray your butt off and say, God, would you take care of the 99?
Yes. That's so good.
And then the third thing is that you love God and you just be an example of what it means to love God. And if you can show up and if you can speak truth and if you can give them an example of what it means to love the Lord with all your heart, with all your soul, with all your mind, and if you can show them what it means to be faithful, if you can show them what it means to be a good father, to be a good husband, if so much more is caught than taught, Mike, so much more is caught than taught. Bob didn't teach me a thing. What Bob did is Bob invited me to his table. Bob invited me to watch him have conversations with his kids. It's the same thing with Steve, right? So much more is caught than taught.
Yeah.
Right? He who calls us is faithful. He will surely do it. And so if you can do those three things, show up, speak truth, and love God, you would be amazed at what God can do. So often the mentor thinks they have to come in and they have to fix and they have to teach and they. But what you really need to do is you need to get out of the way and let God. So
that's good. Can you share maybe a success story that really illustrates You Can Mentor, what it's all about?
Well, man, I mean, you've got my story, right?
Yeah.
But I mean, there are thousands. I mean, there's kids right now up in Dallas who work, for the Forerunner Mentoring Program who were once a part of our program. I mean, the first kid that we ever mentored, right? We went to visit his mom. They were in a shelter. We didn't know that, but they were homeless. And we started to invest into this kid. And he went to college. He got married. He has a baby on the way. He has his master's. And now he's a teacher. Guess what? He's teaching 8th grade.
Wow.
Just like me. And so,
It's this full circle.
Now, Mike, we've also had kids in our program who, have gotten incarcerated. We've got kids in our program who, they were murdered, but you just never know. And so focus more on faithfulness than fruitfulness, right?
Yes.
Because you can't control these kids.
Right. One
of my mentees, and I consider myself to be a good mentor. Golly, I hope so. He went to prison. Right?
Yeah. This hits home so much. I think the Lord's been just impressing upon me. We are responsible to do the steps, but we're not responsible for the outcome.
Right. Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. You can't control anyone. We make terrible saviors.
Yes.
But God, our only job, is just to show up and just it's obedience.
I think
right?
That gives,
and so,
for anybody that's listening and thinking about this, and is a little apprehensive or whatever, I think that's a really important point, is because as men, like we want to win, we want to be successful. I want to do this. And it's like, and anyone that has kids or is raising their own kids, it's like they're a reflection of you. That is true, but it's also, they are their own person.
Hey, Mike, I am going to describe someone. Okay. And you tell me the first person that comes to your mind. Okay.
Yep.
There is this guy I know who shows up whenever we're at our worst. There is this guy I know who loves us whenever we are at the state of our lives where we're the most unlovable. We are, there's this guy I know who shows up only with grace. He doesn't judge, but he gives mercy. There is this guy I know, right?
Yeah.
Who I can count on to show up whenever I call on him. Who am I talking about?
Jesus.
That's right, baby.
Yep.
But that's also the role of a mentor.
Yeah. Right.
So
yeah, be that in
as
flesh.
mentors,
Yeah, be that in flesh.
we have a great example to follow, and that's Jesus. But Jesus mentored, discipled 12 guys. Well, guess what? Even he didn't bat 1,000.
Right. Yeah. That's good.
So,
Jesus is the way, and the way is sacrifice.
but hey, Mike, man, here's a story for you. Okay.
Yeah.
Everyone loves this kid was on his way to jail, then he got a mentor, and now he's president of like
Right.
everyone loves those stories, right? Well, those stories are few and far between. Here's a story that's more lifelike. I had a friend of mine, and he and his wife, now he's like 65 or 70, but when they were in their early 20s, he and his wife got 12 young men together for dinner every Sunday night. And tough kids, right? But they'd invite them into their home. They'd have pizza. They'd have a Bible study. And these kids, over time, they fell in love with this family, right? They met every Sunday from 7th grade all the way through high school. Well, 11 of the kids, right? By the end of their senior year, they're like, oh my gosh, Mike, Kyle, Mary, I love you guys. They're calling them mom and dad. They're crying, they're hugging, they're sharing lives, sharing stories. But there was one kid who never said anything. There was one kid who showed up every Sunday, ate food, listened, didn't ever talk. Well, they all go on, graduate high school, go their own ways. And Kyle and Mary said, man, we sure did make a great impact on 11 of those 12 kids, right? Fast forward 35 years. And my friend Kyle's filling up with gas in a part of town that he doesn't necessarily always go to. And, he's a counselor. He's a short guy. He's wearing like a cardigan sweater. He drives like a Volvo. And he looks over and there's this large African-American man who's staring at him. And my friend Kyle gets a little nervous, Well, this guy starts walking over to him. He says, hey, man. And Kyle goes, yeah. He goes, hey, man, is your name Kyle Martin? He goes, yes, sir. And he goes, hey, I couldn't tell it to you then, but let me tell it to you now. Everything I learned about being a husband and a father, I learned by sitting in your living room on those Sunday nights. And I just want to say thank you.
Oh, my gosh.
And he walked away. Wow. And guess who it was?
Who?
It was the 12th guy.
Yeah. Oh, my gosh. Yeah.
For 35 years, Amazing. Kyle and Mary thought that it was a failure. For 35 years, they thought that they didn't make an impact. But they tossed the seeds, someone else watered it, and God gave growth in his perfect timing.
That's amazing. That's a great story. Yeah.
You never know, man.
Thanks for sharing that.
Yeah.
So let's turn the corner here on raising up fathers, building godly leaders at home. What's the vision behind raising up fathers?
Yeah, so the vision for raising up fathers is we want to raise up 10,000 fathers. And that is the vision of Steve Allen, my mentor, right? Steve got diagnosed with ALS in 2012. And so I have taken on that mantle, right? And we want to we want to destroy the cycle of fatherlessness by encouraging and empowering men to become the fathers that they never had through mentoring and through fathering. So we want to father the fatherless, but we also want to produce these men of God, right? So once you overcome growing up without a father, once you realize God is your father, once you forgive your father, well, what's next? Becoming that man of God, right? And becoming a man of God means that you have to learn how to follow Jesus with all of your heart. But then it means that you have to lead your wife. You have to pursue marriage. You have to do that, which is really hard if you've never experienced it. And then you have to do the same thing as a father. And so we want to raise up 10,000 fathers who focus in on the four main things. That's sonship, your relationship with Jesus. That's being a godly husband whose wife is thriving, being an intentional and a faithful father. And the most important thing is surrounding yourself with godly brothers, because godly brothers, that's the thing that makes the other three possible. And so, yeah, so we have a event every January in Colorado Springs, Colorado. We got about 100 and some odd guys there. And we don't teach, we share stories about what the Lord's doing in those main roles in our lives. And we experience the Lord with other men that we live life with, so that we can kind of experience this mountaintop weekend that we can take back home to help encourage us to be the sons, the husbands, and the fathers that we've been called to be. So,
okay. So the guys that are attending that then are the fathers.
Yeah. It's really anyone can come,
Yeah.
but you can't come alone. You have to come with other men.
Okay. Very good.
So, but yeah,
that's awesome.
So
go ahead.
Yeah. So the mentoring was great whenever I was a kid who needed a mentor. So mentoring was great whenever I didn't know how to become what I never had, right? But now that I am a father, now that I am a husband, I see how hard it is. And man, golly, especially if you grew up, didn't have a dad around, right?
Yep.
And so how can I become what I didn't ever have? And having a mentor like Steve, and surrounding yourself with other men, and really helping prioritize the four main roles is the best way that I've found to be who God has called me to be.
So as a guy, what's the difference between a buddy and a godly relationship?
And authenticity, being vulnerable, having the courage to have someone call you out. Maybe not call out. That's a bad term. How about call up?
Mm-hmm.
How about someone who sees some things that you don't see and they call you up to it? But are you living life in a way that's open and honest? Are you talking about your fears? Are you sharing your struggles? Are you talking about the things that guys don't want to talk about? Are you talking about your finances? Are you talking about your sex life? Are you talking about lust and other different kinds of sins, right? Like, do you have men that you can be 100% open and honest with, and men who won't judge you, but men who will call you up, right? Confess your sins so that you may be healed, right? Mm-hmm. And so do you have other men who can create this safe environment for you to authentically be you? And then do they have the courage to have compassion when you need compassion, but also call you up and say, hey man, stop it. Right. So, and there's, that's about the scariest thing in the entire world to do, Mike. So
why do you say that? Why do we think it's scary?
No one likes being weak. No one likes looking like a failure. No one likes, we're men. Like, I want to look like the tough guy. I want to look like I'm fine. I don't need you. Right.
Yeah.
But we do need each other. It is not good for men to be alone.
For sure.
A cord of multiple strands is not easily broken.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, man.
I think a lot of guys, think being tough is the most important thing. And there's such power in the vulnerability, because we live lives with a mask on. And so who can you be yourself with? And when I think about godly relationships versus buddies, I got a lot of buddies. Buddies, we talk about sports. Godly relationships, we talk about life. We talk about God, right? And to me, that is the aim. Like, it is I think of God as the greatest good. He is good all the time. And so what is it in my life that's not good all the time? Where am I falling short? So I love that you said calling up. It is calling up for you to be the best version of you that you can possibly be. And we know when we're not doing that, right? And that's when we tend to hide. That's when we tend to deflect and all of those things. And so having those men in your life where they can see that in you, and that those relationships take time as well, right? It's not, you know, you don't want to be the weird guy that's just, you know, I met you on the bus and I'm just going to spill my guts to you. It's like, these are relationships that you build over time.
So why was David a man after God's own heart? Right. And I think it's because he was willing to be open and honest with God. I think because he was one of the only guys to share everything.
Yeah.
And I feel like that's our call as well. That's why we do the weekend thing, right? Is it a spiritual high? Maybe. But I'll tell you this, you spend, more time with your brothers, your neighbors, the men in your small group on that weekend than you do if you have a coffee for an hour a week for the next year.
Right.
And so it's like, man, it is just a safe, godly environment filled with worship, good food. It's in Colorado Springs where you can connect, you can bond, you can build the trust so that you can go home and that you can continue to be there for each other. So,
sounds awesome.
Yeah, man.
All right. Real quick, for those listening about mentoring, just kind of diving back in that, you talk about 3 keys of mentorship, maybe a blueprint for every dad. What are those?
Yeah. So, I mean, we talk a lot about, are you showing up on a consistent basis? Are you being there? There was a study that came out that it's actually not about the time that you spend with your kids. It's about the quality of time. I said, what? So it's actually better if you only spend 5 hours a week with your kid, but it's fully invested. You've turned your phone off. They've got your full attention. Than if you spend 30 hours, but you're on your phone, you're watching TV, you're just kind of goofing around. So showing up in a consistent way, speaking truth, being encouraging, fathers should be the most encouraging people out there. And so many fathers are scared to talk about love or scared to kiss their kids. Man, I'm going to challenge every man out there. If you're not hugging your kid on a consistent basis, if you're not kissing your kid on a consistent basis, right?
Yep.
Then I'm going to challenge you to do that. And well, I don't want to do that. That's I don't want to seem weird. Okay, well, you're teaching so much by what it means to have appropriate affection, and you are giving your kids these deposits that are going to last way beyond you. And just speak truth. If you see something that they're doing good, tell them. So many men, well, my dad didn't ever tell me that he loved me. My dad didn't ever tell me that I did a good job. Okay, well, I'm telling my kid that 30 times a day.
Right.
Because there's a couple of things in life that you can't do enough. And tell a kid that you love him. Tell a kid that you're proud of him. Tell a kid that he's doing good. Yeah, those are so a couple important. Of them. And then three, Mike. It's just love God. You might disagree with me. I'm terrible at family Bible studies. I'm terrible at family prayer.
Yep.
But what's going to be the things that he remembers? I promise you, when my kid's 45 years old, he's not going to remember what I said in a family devotional. Mm-hmm. Even though that's good, right? Even though that's good. What he's going to remember is how I talked to his mom whenever I had a hard day and she was freaking out. He's going to remember whenever he woke up early at 5:15 because he had to go to the bathroom and he looked over and he saw his dad in his chair with his Bible out. He's going to remember how his dad treated him whenever he was at his worst. Those are the things that he's going to remember. And so actions speak louder than words. And if my spiritual environment is.
All right, awesome. So, just kind of, I know you're a father of 3. What kind of rhythms, traditions are you doing in your home now to keep your, you said you're not big into some of the more traditional things. What are some of the things that you've found that are working? And let everyone know the ages of your kids.
Yeah, it's 10, 8, and 6.
All right.
So man, I mean, we have a devotional every morning. I cook them a little bit of good old breakfast, make some sausage, some eggs and things like that. Yep. And we just talk about a verse, so right now we're talking about Philippians 2:3. selflessness, right? Considering others is more important than yourself.
Mm.
And we just talk about it. Hey, what does this look like at school? What does this look like in the neighborhood? What does this look like in our family? How have you seen mom and dad do this, right?
That's good.
The most important thing, Mike, is I want them to see me love their mom well.
I,
So I want them to see me kiss my wife. I want them to see me hug my wife. I want them to see me date my wife. We go on family vacations a lot, which I'm just a big fan of. And then I take all of my kids on dates. So,
mm,
just an
that's
hour
good.
here,
Yep. Yep.
and it's not anything crazy. It's not like it's just, hey, we're going to Sonic and we're going to get a slushie. And right now, it's boring. My kids don't have much to talk about. But my kid who's 10 has done this a couple times. He said, "Hey, Dad, can I tell you something?" And so the purpose of the dates, you know, so many men get frustrated whenever the kids don't open up or the date's not like, amazing, but you're preparing the way. When the kid's 13, when the kid's 15 and they really want to talk about something, you will have put in those reps. So it's not weird. So it's not awkward, right? So just consistency is king. And so, yeah, so those are kind of the main things. We, as family, we try to play a bunch of games. We don't like to watch, like a bunch of shows or anything like that.
Yep.
And I coach all of their sports teams. So.
There you go. Yeah, I can testify. Mealtime, super important. You have a fixed mealtime. With it, you make it fit, whatever it is, right? We started with breakfast, and then that wasn't working. We shifted it to dinners, and then different seasons come. But that consistency and loving your wife well, very, very good.
And Mike, here's a quote that Steve told me that I love. It's judge the fruit, not the watering schedule. And so, hey, as long as there's good fruit, man,
that's a great quote.
hey,
I love it.
You can do whatever the heck you want to, just as long as your kids look like Jesus and love Jesus.
Yeah.
So.
And how do you balance like ministry, work, being present with your family? How are you trying to balance all that?
Whenever I was up in Dallas, I was terrible at it. So a question I like to ask is, who is getting my best? Who is getting my best? And for a long time, it was my ministry. Growing up, didn't have a dad around. I wanted approval so much, and I got that by performing. And so I didn't know it, but I was performing even in my ministry. But God, in His kindness, I thought I was moving to Waco, Texas for a job, but really He was moving me there to work on my marriage and on my heart. And so, as I've gotten older, I now have the faith to prioritize the main things, keep the main things the main things. I don't have to do everything, and I try to make sure that my wife and my kids are really receiving my best, and I can only do that whenever I'm hand in hand with Jesus. So it's a tough though, man. I see lots of people who do full-time kind of ministry who mix up their, put their job over their family. And I think Satan's more than happy to give you a good ministry if it costs you your family.
So good. Yeah. I love what you said. More is caught than taught.
Yeah. Being
present. I remember one year we have 6 kids. So we took our kids out of sports and we went away for the summer. And of course, all the coaches and everything, like, you're going to screw up his ability to get, into the next thing and everything. But my kids are now adults, 22 to 32, and they remember that summer, right? They don't remember what team they were on. They don't remember any of that stuff, but they remember those times, those experiences together. So
yeah,
good for you. All right, real quick, favorite verse for fathers?
I mean, favorite verse I think the joy of the Lord is my strength.
It's good.
Man, where has the joy gone? Where has the laughter gone? Where is the joking around with your kids? So often I'm so serious, how's school? How's sports? And I'm just like, man, laughter and smiles is so attractive. so attractive.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. Awesome. We've talked about your kind of most impactful mentor moment. How about one habit every man should start this week? What would you suggest?
one habit every man should start this week. Man, that's a good one. I'd say sitting in silence in the morning.
And just let it be with yourself, be with the Lord. Why do you say that? What's that going
to? Well, we're so busy, and we're so distracted, and this world is so noisy, Like, do you remember that verse, where it talks about hearing God? It said there was thunder, but he wasn't in that. There's lightning, he wasn't in that. There's flood, he wasn't in that. But then whenever everything was quiet, this still small whisper, And so get silent.
Turn the volume down. Yeah, that's good.
Search your heart, oh Lord, and see if there's any ways within me that are not all about you. Ask the Lord if he has anything to say about you. Ask the Lord if he has anything to say to you. Instead of telling the Lord what you're going to do and asking him to put his hand on it, why don't you ask the Lord what he wants you to do?
Practice prayer as a listener. Yeah.
It's a two-way street.
Yeah. Awesome.
And so, man, I
love it.
I try my hardest to do that.
Very good. So how can listeners connect with you and, help us figure out?
Yeah, so you can find us on social media at You Can Mentor at Raising Up Fathers. You can listen to the You Can Mentor podcast. As far as I know, the only faith-based mentoring podcast there is. I have a bunch of books. You can find those on my website at youcanmentor.com. And you can also find out more about Raising Up Fathers at www.raisingupfathers.com. Well, not at Raising Up Fathers, but just Raising Up Fathers. My bad.
Awesome. And if you're going to throw a challenge out to those that are listening right now, what's the challenge that you would throw out to?
Well, I already challenged people to hug their kids.
Yep.
The next challenge is to date your wife. So, but and think of it like this, you cheapskates. It's not about spending money. It's an investment.
Yeah.
And is there anything that is more important to invest in your marriage?
Very good. You can be super creative. I work with somebody that's put together a scavenger hunt for his wife. And it is every month she gets a new thing, a new clue, and it culminates after a year into something that's like, oh my gosh, that blew my mind. It doesn't cost anything, but it costs time, took creativity. So having fun with that. That's really good. Date your wife. Spend time in silence with God.
Yeah.
Good stuff.
It's good.
Zach,
thanks, Mike.
Thanks so much for being on the podcast. Really enjoyed listening and can't wait to see where the Lord takes you next.
Thanks, Mike. Really appreciate you, my man.
All right. Thanks for listening, everyone. And remember, God is good. Jesus has forgiven you. You are loved, and everything is possible.